You are most welcome back to Matchbook's Weekend Football Podcast. Delighted to be joined, as ever, by Mr. Adrian Clarke and Mr. Mark O'Haire. Let's take a quick recap of midweek, gentlemen. My gosh, now don't forget we're recording this on Thursday evening, so obviously we've got the Tottenham game to come, Spurs and Chelsea. We have two bets on that, so that could kind of send us over the edge on a winning week, or it may send us over the other side on a losing week. I don't want to get into the whole bad beat stuff. I really don't. But some of these ones midweek, guys, one of them in particular, Rotherham and Derby, you backed under 2.25 there, Mark. After 75 minutes, 0-0. I think under 2.25, roughly in my own head, is probably about a 16, 17, 18 one shot, at least. Goals in the 76th, 81st, and 88th minute. In Rotherham Derby, killed that one, Mark. That was fantastic. But Mark, Manchester United and Southampton, we had, the market was kind of going against us. It's good to laugh. It is good to laugh, Adrian. The market was going against us anyway to begin with during the day, so we were a bit pessimistic about it. But that bloody sending off after 2 minutes, and of course, Hasenhüttl, he's not going to shut up shop. Why would you with 10 men against, one of the highest scorers in the league? Mark, a perplexing week.
Yeah, got to give it. I think Adrian took the lead on the Man United Southampton game, and he was bang on really by saying team news was going to be absolutely key there. And I think, as we saw on Monday night recording and then all through Tuesday, the money was pouring in for Man United and pouring in for the overs. So something was definitely afoot there. And I guess we saw it when the squads were announced, not just the 11s, and you saw Southampton's bench, which was made up of kids, squad numbers from 40 and upwards. And I guess what they didn't need was a sending off after 79 seconds. I didn't think United were as good as the 9-0 suggests. I actually turned it off at sort of 3-0 because I thought this game's done and kind of kept it on in the background. But it was a tough one to take because I think on an ordinary day, on an ordinary night, and we're going to talk about United again under very similar circumstances. I think those two bets would have been decent runners.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there was a good few wins too. Everton was a terrific look, Adrian Clarke. You both guys agreed on that drawn up bet. Accrington Stanley, your one EFL pick. You normally have a couple that was a comfortable winner. I think they were like 4-0 up after about 25 minutes.
Oh no, that was a rare luxury, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and Mark had a terrific look as well with Shrewsbury Crew under 2.5, and obviously the Salford game was called off, and we pushed as well in Leeds Everton and Villa West Ham. Again, that was another one under 3. That one was a 0-0 at half time, and just like Jesse Lingard, 2 goals in the second half. Massive. Anyway, look, it's behind us. We're not going to do the whole bad beat stories. There was enough winners there. Let's be honest about it. If those ones click on Thursday night, we're in the black. Anyway, I want to talk about this week. And obviously, we're going to leave off with Liverpool versus Manchester City. And Mark, I want to come to you first on this one. It's an interesting market, of course. After that Liverpool loss to Brighton, everyone saw that coming, but maybe they didn't. Because I was looking at the pre-match and that Liverpool were only about 1.5, Mark. And if you told me before Liverpool only 1.5, the Brighton, you're thinking, what the hell is going on here? 3.68, you can back the Reds at Anfield at home on Sunday. Manchester City at 2.12, the draw available at 3.8. Liverpool getting a half a goal start on the Asian handicap, just under 1.87. The total is 2.75. Mark, take it away. I mean, like, if I had told you even 6 months, even 7 months ago that you were going to be backing Liverpool in a Premier League game at Anfield, where they had this terrific record under Jurgen Klopp, you'd have said, Sully, have a day off, mate. Not going to happen. Where are you coming with this? Strange times, man.
Yeah, it's strange times, really strange times. And normally you kind of attack a game like this in the Big Six and you probably look towards the goal expectancy and think perhaps it's a little bit too high. Avoid the hype, avoid the narrative and go against the grain. It's proven a decent moneymaker for us so far this season. But this one is a completely different kettle of fish. Traditionally, Liverpool City, you've got two coaches who have complete belief in how their teams play, and that's very much forward-thinking football. They feel that they need, or they have the duty to go out and win beautifully. And normally we're given a fantastic game of football to watch. I think there's been a 1-0 draw in the last, God knows how many meetings now between the two teams in 2018-19. Other than that, they've been absolutely fantastic matches to watch, and more so than probably any club game across Europe in the last couple of years too. But in terms of a betting proposition for this match, I think Tuesday or Wednesday night throws things completely different for me because of the state of play really at the top of the Premier League table. Liverpool 7 points adrift, City with a game in hand. Yeah. Suddenly, what became a must, still is a must-win game for Liverpool. I think from a City perspective, it suddenly becomes, well, let's just keep them at arm's length and see how we go, because they don't need to go out and win this game. Liverpool are still going to be the most likely challengers for them to the title, and just denying them 3 points at Anfield will set them on a much closer run to home, really. So, yeah, Liverpool are going to go off the biggest price they've ever been at home to City. But there's understandable reasons for that. No Anfield crowd, no Van Dijk, Gomez, Matip. The form, the performance data too is much inferior to Man City's too, but that's been an issue the whole time in the Premier League under Klopp and Pep Guardiola as well. However, just what I was saying on City, I'm not blown away by that price at all. I know the sort of the fallout after the Brighton defeat is very much that Liverpool are out of the title race and they're dead and buried. I don't buy into that whatsoever, even if Andy Robertson says they're not in the title race at the moment, because City, as I said, they don't need to win this, but also you look at their record against the big teams in the Premier League. They haven't beaten anyone higher than 7th in the league this season. Since losing to Spurs in November, they've only played, they've probably had 2 tough fixtures, and yeah, that's being harsh to some teams. But they drew with United and they beat a Chelsea team who are in a disarray really under Lampard and his dying embers of his tenure. They've not actually won away at Anfield under Pep in any competition, and their record against the top 6 since the start of last season across all venues in the Premier League: 4 wins, 4 draws, 7 defeats. Very mediocre. Away from the Etihad, it's 1 win, 2 draws, 5 defeats. Drop it down to the top 7, it's just as bad, really. 9 defeats in 18, 7 defeats in 11 away from the Etihad. That's not good form at all. So whilst the narrative is very much pro-City right now, and understandably so, and the progress that they've made in the last couple of months is fantastic, you need to take into account who they played in that time as well. They're also coming into this game without Aguero and De Bruyne, 2 players who arguably the most influential they've had in the last few years as well. So, yeah, 3 of the last 4 Premier League meetings that mattered and had anything riding on them between these two have ended in draws. I'm not counting the blowout in July because Liverpool were hungover after winning the title. So, yeah, I look towards the draw as the biggest price of the 3. I think it's got a great run here. Implied probability of 28%. Well, I think these 2 teams are much closer than that, even with the absentees on both sides. And again, just because of what's happened now on Wednesday night and how significant this game could be for both teams, I have to oppose goals again. The under 3 line has been chipped away on Thursday. It's now 173 on Matchbook. It was trading around 175, 177 earlier and elsewhere. So there might still be a bit of juice in that price, but both of those plays appeal to me right now. I think it's still going to be a really good game, but I'd be a bit more cautious towards it now and rather oppose goals and sit on the fence in terms of a match result.
Yeah, as Mark mentioned there, on the 3 currently available at 1.73 at Matchbook and dropping, so maybe one to take. Adrian Clarke, if we're looking at this even in boxing terms, Manchester City here have the other fighter on the ropes. And like Mark said, if they do get this win, they go 10 points clear with a game in hand. Like that is probably, and I know we're only in early February, but that potentially is the knockout blow here. And, it could be an inviting one for Pep Guardiola's side. But this Liverpool price, and I looked at 9 a.m. this morning, they were 3.54 and they've drifted up to 3.68 and it's trending the other way. So I'm thinking, like, if you want to back Liverpool, I think wait closer to kick off, because it just seems to be going that way. But what are you making of this one? Is it time for City to maybe knock this Liverpool side off its perch final?
I think they might see it that way. I can see Mark's argument that they don't have to win and for that reason just no risk and we'll take the point and go. I definitely can understand that logic, but the point you bring up is a valid one as well. You got your opponent on the ropes. Let's just go for the big punch here and take them out of the title race. It's a fascinating game, no doubt about it. I think Alisson, is he going to be back from illness? That's a biggie. Fabinho, I think, is being tipped to return. That could make a real difference to them. It could potentially push Jordan Henderson into midfield, which I think would be a good move for Liverpool in the game. I mean, City in midfield at the moment with Gundogan, they need controlling. It's a fascinating game. It really is. I'm with Mark on City's run. As impressive as it's been, you have to look at who they've beaten. I like the draw, absolutely, but I also like Liverpool with a small handicap. I know that you're not going to get the price, but you can cover off the draw with that. Liverpool plus a quarter is odds against. One plus half a goal, 1.87 pretty much on Liverpool. So you're effectively getting the draw and the Liverpool win. I just think professional pride has to kick in here. Are Liverpool really going to go another game? Is it 3 games without a goal at Anfield already? Are they really going to go a 4th without scoring at Anfield? It's the type of opponent that will give them a little bit of space to hurt them on the counter, unlike the teams that they've drawn blanks against, of course. So stylistically, it's a better match for Liverpool. And as champions, I'm just expecting a big reaction. I'm expecting the juices to really flow for this one. They might feel like they're in last chance saloon in terms of defending their title. And let's also not forget how good they were against Spurs and West Ham United. You know, the goal they scored against West Ham was just unreal.
Adrian, even with that, Mark, would like that performance against Brighton not just scare the absolute bejesus or the back net up? He's like,
it would, but it's like they've got a phobia now against when they've got so much of the ball that they're finding it really hard to strike up, find the imagination. I just think with City, it's a much more of a ding dong affair, and I think that Liverpool might. Well, I'm sure that they would prefer that. Whether they can hold out at the back against City is another matter, of course. But yeah, look, I like the draw, but I personally, I still like Liverpool with a small handicap. But yeah, both the plays that Mark suggested were very sensible.
Liverpool have got the best record against the big teams in the Premier League this season as well. I think that's gone probably under the radar a bit. I think it's 4 wins and 2 draws in the 6 games against the big 6. So. They are capable of turning up and putting on a performance. It's just this campaign, it's just been so erratic. Every team's gone through peaks and troughs, and Liverpool are undergoing theirs at the minute.
It's rare we do this, gentlemen. But the way those markets line up, so we're looking at the draw at 3.8, Liverpool plus half a goal at 1.87, and on the 3 goals at 1.73. I mean, the thing is, it lands 1-1. All 3 of those bets win. No, 2 of them could win, 1 of them could win. But like, I do find it hard to believe that. But look, yeah, if it's a City 2-0 win, we just lose everything. But like I said, I think you all made a good case for it. And I don't want to kind of look. I know there's probably other games on the slate today that we're probably not as strong on, and we're quite happy to maybe just kind of go easy on those ones. So let's put in those 3 bets and. Yeah, let's hopefully have a super Sunday. It's going to be an interesting one way or the other. It's like, if there's a performance in this Liverpool team, you would suggest it has to be now. It just has to be. The time there is no time like the present. If it comes,
we've seen flashes of brilliance from them in recent games, and there will be pride as champions here. If there's no reaction, then that's a real worry for Liverpool moving forwards.
Absolutely. Dead duck in the water. Let's move on to one of our favourite team, Leicester City. Yes. I know you're delighted, Mark O'Haire, when I put these in the thing, but I think you actually picked in this week, so I'm going to.
I said it was one of the better games on paper, but they should be banned from the podcast.
They probably should be. We probably should just maybe take them off the Matchbook side and never be done with them anymore. Wolves, you come back fresh from that big 2-1 win against Arsenal, Adrian. 3.56 at home. Leicester City at 2.21. You come back to the draw at 3.52. Wolves getting a quarter of a goal start on the Asian handicap, but good odds against 2.04, and the total is 2.25 as ever at Molyneux. I don't think I've ever seen 2.5 for 3. Slightly shading towards the under. Adrian Clarke, take it away. You said pre-recording you like Leicester here, man. Can we do it one more time? So you're watching this podcast and you hear Adrian tipping up Leicester. Push the blue button on Wolves and just go. Where you go?
We just can't get Leicester right.
We're due.
Look, obviously, I covered this game. Wolves were awful. Honestly, they were terrible. They got battered by Arsenal. It should have been 3 or 4 by half time, and obviously the sending off changes everything. The penalty, and even then, even against 9 men. It took them a 35-yard worldie that he would score 1 out of 100 times to win the game. I didn't like the Wolves' performance. I thought they were really, really mediocre. And Leicester are playing so well at the moment away from home. They're a machine away from home. 26 points from 11 games. it's only Manchester United that are better than them by a point, and they've pretty much broken all records this season. Leicester love it on the road. They've scored 2 or more in 7 of 11, and I'm telling you, Arsenal should have scored, as I said, 3 or 4 in that game. The Wolves back 4 as it was in the game looked really wobbly to me, vulnerable to passes in behind, vulnerable to players running at them. And I just look at Maddison's form at the moment. I look at the way Tielemans is playing. James Justin absolutely flying. There is talk that Jamie Vardy and Wilf Ndidi will be back for this. Brendan Rodgers has been quoted as saying that he thinks they'll be available. Whether they play or not, we don't know. So there's a lot of ticks in the Leicester box for me. I would back them on the nose for this one. And I'd also lean towards the overs because Wolves are not good at it. Depends on the way they approach it. Against Arsenal, they picked a super attacking lineup, Wolves. And I guess they'll say it paid off, but they should have been out of sight. And for me, Wolves don't suit that style of play. Don't suit a back 4. If they go for back 4, I think Leicester will carve them open. So I would go overs, over 2.25 on 201. But the main pick would be Leicester. I think that's my choice.
Mark O'Haire, I know you're probably not super keen on this game, but have you anything to add what Adrian just said? Could you get on board with either of those bets at this current time?
Yeah, I could. It's not just Adrian's Arsenal tinted spectacles talking there either. It's Wolves are really poor. They got massively out of jail from that match in midweek. Arsenal could have been 4-0 up by half time. So whether the win is going to spur them on for a bit of a revival or not, I don't think so. Nuno said pre-match that they'd had a big, honest discussion in the camp to see what had gone wrong and how to fix it. And I didn't see any sort of signs that things were going to get fixed there either. So there'd been a lot of money come for him in the sack race on Sunday night, actually, and rumours were quite rife around in West Midlands too about his future. So probably be harsh if he was sacked, but at the moment he's not really coming up with the answers of the problems, and I think it's too easy to pin the blame on Raul Jimenez's injury. They've now got William Jose in, who's a very capable striker who should do well in the Premier League. But they just lack penetration, they lack creativity. Yep. The defence looks at 6s or 7s as well, playing in a back 4. So I think they are very vulnerable. I think before I pull the trigger, the 2.3-ish, if it's available on Leicester, is fine. I just would like to see the team sheet again. I know, pretty boring, but there are, I think, doubts over Fofana and Castagne as well. So if you get Ndidi, Vardy, and maybe one of the other 2 as well involved, absolutely get involved with Leicester. That would be my way of thinking. Yeah,
I think Vardy might be back. He's looking like he's going to be back. Indeed, he still looks probably a doubt there as well. I'm probably going to make the executive decision here, Adrian. I think I like the angle on Leicester to win, probably more than the goals. I'm just a small bit worried again that if it's a 1-0 Leicester win, it's kind of a weird kind of almost victory for us.
No, I would definitely choose Leicester over the goals. I was just not confident about the Wolves' defence. But again, look, they might go back to a back 5 and play like they did at Chelsea. That's not beyond the realms of possibility. If they do, it will be a low-scoring game, but Leicester would still be capable of winning it.
Yeah, okay. Leicester 2.21. I like it. We got to get them right. Up the Foxes. Let's go. There was a time before Christmas we did get them right, honestly. So if you're listening to this thinking we get it wrong every week, there was that one time, out of, only about 19 podcasts. So yeah, it's all up. Let's move on. Manchester United against Everton. Current betting at Matchbook, the time we're recording it back, the Red Devils are just under 1.56. Everton is 6.8. The draw available at 4.4. Everton getting a full goal start on the Asian handicap. You can back that at 1.99, and Manchester United you can back that at -1 at 1.95, and 2.75 is the total, slightly shaded to the overs. So when we select our weekend or midweek football bets, I have an internal work chat where I put in the bets, and unfortunately, we have a lot of Manchester United fans working at Matchbook, and they wanted my, you better lay it on the guys now for back in Southampton the last night. And there's kind of this perception, guys, that you're slightly anti-Manchester United. So Mark O'Haire, address the critics. I'm not saying you are, by the way, but I just think sometimes these Manchester United fans have the occasional chip on their shoulder, man. I don't know, is it like the last couple of years under Van Gaal, Mourinho, all these guys? They're a bit battle worn, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I'm often trying to find ways to oppose them at certain prices for the very reason I feel they're a bit overrated. But I have no qualms with what happened against Southampton in midweek. Obviously, things out of our control went against us. That just happens in betting
That's
sometimes.
for sure. Yeah. Yep.
But I think when you look at this game, it's very similar. If Southampton played United under the same circumstances of having a fully fit squad, it's kind of a very similar test to what Everton are going to put up at the weekend. So for that reason, I'm happy to go in on the same market again and support Everton with a +1.25 start on the Asian line. I know it's been clipped in quite a lot actually on Thursday. It was 1.8. I'm not sure we're going to get that anymore. So, but to be honest, I think the Southampton game from a United perspective is utterly meaningless because of the opposition and because of what happened inside the first 2 minutes. I'm certainly not reading anything into it at all. I think it's irrelevant to my thinking to this weekend completely. And I'm more interested in Everton, really, who have been a bit of a chameleon kind of side this season under Ancelotti, starting the season as a really fun team, attack-minded, scoring goals, conceding goals. But one team you really wanted to watch every week, and then they discovered that they just can't keep clean sheets. So they went the complete opposite way of battening down the hatches, really, and playing defensive football and sort of squeezing out results off narrow margins and stuff. I'm hoping they're going to find a happy medium at some point, and I think that's going to come when Alan comes back into the team. At the moment, I think he's still a week away from fitness, and at the moment, that midfield still, to me, looks a bit unbalanced. Saying that, I thought they were terrific, actually, in midweek against Leeds. For the second time this season, those two teams have gone
Brilliant
at it together. And
brilliant game, I loved it. I thought that was the happy medium, actually, because they showed a lot of resilience in the game defensively, yet always had that threat. And I just love them. They ran
this. Personnel, Andre Gomez. I mean, it's one or the other. It's Gomez or Sigurdsson in the pivot, and it's just not for me at all. So I think it's easier for the balance to be found against Leeds. You'd know better than I would from a tactical perspective, but I think United might be a bit different. But either so, I go back to the same stats and trends I talked about before the Southampton game. Exclude the Saints game, as I say, meaningless. They've only won by 2 goals or more once at home in the Premier League all season. That was against Leeds in the basketball game, and Everton just aren't as naive as Leeds. They'll offer a threat from set pieces too, which Leeds probably didn't. So they've got various ways of getting a goal themselves. And if they do score at Old Trafford, which I think they're very capable of doing so, United are going to need 3 goals to see a handicap play on Everton lose. So Everton 1.25 would be my play.
That's been back to 1.72, but it's still a bet. We have this rule about the 1.7 and up. Now we can stick with it. And I get it, Mark, because, I mean, look, after that 9-0 win, and look, it occurs in every sport. Recency bias at play. People see that result, they go, whoa, 9-0 United. And they were at home. So are they over this home hoodoo? But Adrian Clarke, I mean, look, I'll be honest, I kind of woke up the last morning, I was thinking back to that Manchester United 9-0 win against Ipswich, and it scared the shit out of me that it was 25 years ago, and I was 12 years of age. And I remember that result because I remember watching it on the Irish version of CFAX, which is called Airtel, and seeing the goals come in, and Andy Cole 5 goals, and thinking I can't wait to watch Match of the Day and see this. And my first game, I think it was either a couple of weeks, I'm going into the memory lane. My first game, it was either a couple of weeks before that or a couple of weeks after, at Old Trafford, was against Everton, when Kanchelskis talked out for them for the first time as well. So a bit nostalgic kind of week for me. But outside of that, Adrian, nostalgia side, the 9-0 game aside, are you aligned with Mark here that Everton, and look, we're buoyed in Everton as well. We have to be careful of recency bias, given that we backed them and we were bullish. You guys were really bullish on them in Ellen Road, and maybe we just want to. But I think Mark made enough points there to know that we've taken a step back, and it does make sense. His angle there. Yeah,
no, I've got exactly the same angle. I'd +1 because it was a better price. But yeah, I take the same viewpoint. Everton on the road are very hard to beat. Very hard to beat. They've only had the 3 toughest games they've had in terms of the league table away from home. Everton, they won at Leicester 2-0. They won 1-0 at Spurs, and they won 2-1 at Leeds. So the other away wins they've had have been against clubs lower down in the table. But they've gone to tough places and been excellent. And yeah, I thought it was a ding-dong game the other night against Leeds. And I would like to think that Ancelotti would be less cavalier maybe at Old Trafford. But I loved the energy, the attitude. They were snapping into tackles.
Yeah.
They were breaking at breakneck speed through Richarlison. Calvert-Lewin's very quick. We know that as well. I really liked what I saw from them. I mean, it's chalk and cheese with the home game against Newcastle where they were flat. So yeah, I do like them. Manchester United, you have to respect that win. You also have to respect their defensive record at the moment. 4 clean sheets in the last 6. They're not defending badly, not giving a lot away at the minute, Manchester United. So I don't think it will be a really high scoring game. But yeah, no, I think Everton are more than capable of getting a draw or even winning. You know what? I'm tempted to have a little nibble myself on Everton on the nose. I mean, 6.8, I think the price. It's not beyond the realms of possibility when you look at some of the teams United have lost to already this season. So yeah, for me, Everton on the road, love it, and I think they'll really fancy this.
Yeah, the guys at work are going to love you tomorrow, guys. I can't wait till I put this bet into the chat.
I'm just doing it to wind them up now. But no,
just put a little note as well. Adrian also thinks Everton are a bet at 6.8. Have a tenner on it. Don't worry about it.
What I will say is that United reserved one of their best performances of the season for Goodison Park. They were really good in a 3-1 win. So look. Yeah, and Everton. Yeah, so that's something they might think they have the upper hand mentally ahead of this game. But for all the reasons outlined, Everton with a handicap for me.
And they're at home. And look, let's be honest, one swallow doesn't make a summer. They were kind of struggling with their home form as well. But we will see. And look, yeah, let's move on before we get any more in trouble with the guys at Matchbook.
They're going to fire us, aren't they?
No, they won't. They would have done it with me a long time ago, Adrian, mate. I don't think it's come yet. Touch wood. Aston Villa at home to Arsenal. Obviously, Adrian, I'll come to you first for this one. Villa, you come back at 2.71 for Arsenal, so basically a pick 'em. 3.64 is the draw. Drawn on bet market at plus 0 series. You can see on the side of 1.98 favouring Villa there. And it's a funny one because it's actually Arsenal are shorter in this market than they are in the main line. So go figure 1.95 for the Gunners. 2.75 is the total shaded towards the over. Adrian, I think you kind of tipped your hat on Arsenal's performance against Wolves, bar David Luiz and Burn Leno's sendings off. You were impressed. And Villa, I mean, they're home to West Ham, and you're like, I don't know. It's so hard. I do feel sorry for you guys some weeks because generally with other sports, you can kind of get a read on some teams. But the Premier League season this year, some teams, they're absolutely bipolar. I don't know what's going on from one week to the next. So, to be fair, how you actually ever manage winning weeks at the moment is beyond me. So,
yeah, it's tough.
Away.
Well, there's so many games, and form can fluctuate so quickly, can't it? Yeah. But it wasn't impressive, was it, from Villa? They looked a bit tired, particularly in midfield, and they were very vulnerable to turnovers and counters against West Ham. And when I think about Saka and Pepe on the break, so good against Wolves, and Thomas Partey was really good in that game up until the dismissal as well, as was Granit Xhaka. So I think Arsenal will work really hard on those turnovers, winning those turnovers, and then springing via Pepe, via Saka, maybe Aubameyang, who knows whether he'll start or not. But yeah, based on what we saw of Villa, they look a bit vulnerable. Emi Martinez as well against his old side goes into it with his confidence dented. That was poor performance from him. 4 home losses as well for Villa, so that's something to consider. But they did absolutely wipe the floor with Arsenal at Emirates Stadium earlier on in the season with Grealish and Watkins, just tremendous. So they'll have a psychological advantage there. But more negatives than positives for Villa. For me, it's how Arsenal respond to the disappointment, the setback of what happened to them against Wolves, the injustice or the perceived injustice. If they use it as fuel to really sort of step on the gas and not only repeat what we saw from them early on against Wolves, but go even better, then they can win this game. Got no doubt about that, even with their sub-goalie in. And that's a worry, obviously. Runarsson or Matty Ryan coming in for his debut is not ideal. I'm not worried about David Luiz's absence. I think Gabriel can step in and do. No, I didn't mean that in a bad way.
Come on.
No, he's been playing very well, but Arsenal are pretty well stocked at the moment. Gabriel can come in, that's no problem. Pablo Mari as well, not an issue for me really. So no, I wouldn't write Arsenal off is my message here. My instinct says I don't think Arsenal will lose this game. I think they will react I think they will put on, a really determined performance. And I think they can either get the draw or the win. So Arsenal draw no bet for me was the play, 1.952. I would fancy goals based on Arsenal's last few away games where they've been really bright. I mean, at Brighton, they won 1-0, but they created a lot. West Brom, they cut loose. At Southampton, one of the best performances that they've produced this season. And at Wolves, it was the best 45 or best 43 they've produced since the start of the season, certainly away from home. So away from home, Arsenal are no longer in containment mode. They're attacking team. They're playing like a big team again, like playing with confidence. So, yeah, I think it could be overs, but for me, Arsenal draw no bet is my pick.
Good man. Mark O'Haire, what are you thinking? Adrian's thinking the Gunners draw no bet at 1.95. What are you thinking?
Yeah, very similar views. I think, he's kind of covered a lot of what I was going to say, really. I was really impressed by Arsenal in the first half against Wolves. It was nice to see someone like Pepe actually sort of showing the form that we know he's capable of from his Lille days. It's taken a while, but he seems to be finding some sort of consistency now and a place and a home in that team. So it's nice to see him flourishing in Arsenal, looking good going forward. Aubameyang on the bench, so he'll be available as well if they need to play him. But there was a slight edge for Arsenal in midweek with Villa playing on Wednesday ahead of an early Saturday start. But obviously playing with 9 men for the last however many minutes at Wolves kind of negates that, really. So, that's a bit of a shame. From a Villa perspective, Dean Smith really critical of his team after that West Ham loss. Said they defended like Sunday League players. He's not wrong, conceding 3 goals from sort of counter-attacks. However, they looked laboured. They looked out of gas, really, and he has to be blamed for that because I think they've only made 1 change to their starting 11 in the last 5 matches. So inevitably, a quick turnaround as well. They're going to look tired and fatigued. Yeah. So there's definitely an opportunity here for Arsenal. I do like the goals angle. Villa have only failed to score in 3 of 20 all season, but they are starting to lead goals. Arsenal looking good going forward. And this game is a traditionally high-scoring game too. I know it's going back over years now, but 16 of the last 20 have featured over 2.5 goals. You've got a dodgy keeper on the Arsenal side of things, a Villa keeper whose confidence is probably low after midweek too. So, I think this game could be quite exciting, could be quite fun, but I probably prefer to stay on the Arsenal side with the draw no bet start for sure. Over 2 3/4 at 1.89 is also somewhere where I'd look as well. So, very much aligned with Adrian.
Go with those 2. Maybe we go with the 2.
Yeah, I think we go with the 2. Yeah, over 2.75, as Mark said, is just over 1.89 or 1.982. Okay, like it. Strong support there for the Gunners in Birmingham this weekend. Let's just slow it down for a second. We'll do a quick bet recap, gentlemen. So what we have Pool City, the draw available there at Manchester City and Liverpool 3.8. We're going to take under 3 goals at 1.73. Liverpool plus a half a goal at 1.87. We're going to take Leicester 2.21. Everton at plus 1.25. Arsenal minus 0.0, 1.95. And one additional bet there, even on the ticker, if you're looking at it, over 2.75 in that Arsenal Villa game at 1.89. And if you're looking at those prices, because a few people have said this to me on our social channels that, I can't see these prices anywhere. I say, but where are you looking? You're not looking at Matchbook. So that's why you can't see them. This is it's a no-brainer. So look at Matchbook because you know what? You're just going to get better odds. And I don't know, the season is a long one. If you haven't got a Matchbook account, you can sign up today at matchbook.com. If your first bet at 10 quid or more is at odds of evens, that's 2.0 in decimals or more, your next bet, you will get 10 quid match. So not a bad offer to get going for the weekend ahead. Right, gentlemen, EFL, Adrian Clarke, take us away. What have you got this weekend in the lower leagues, man?
Yeah, got a couple for you, a couple of cheeky bets. Starting the Championship, Millwall against Sheffield Wednesday. Wednesday, under the interim manager, are flying. 3rd in the form table over the last 8 games, 16 points from 8 games. Really, really playing well. Millwall are the draw specialists at home. 9 home draws. Just ridiculous. 9, I think from 13 games, 9 of 13 have been drawn. They did play well against Norwich last weekend, but can they back it up? I've lost count the amount of times I've been in dressing rooms where a manager says, "Look, you played the best team in the league off the park last weekend. What do you call this week? What's happened to you?" I worry that might happen to Millwall here. Won once at the new day all season. For me, Sheffield Wednesday plus a half goal is a good price. 1.87. Sheffield Wednesday on the nose is really attractive at 4.2. But given Millwall's track record of drawing games, it might be better to play on the safe side. So for me, Sheffield Wednesday got the form tells you Sheffield Wednesday shouldn't lose this game. It also tells you that Millwall are unlikely to win it. So
Adrian, when you first started on this podcast, you learned from Mark O'Haire. You would have taken Sheffield Wednesday at 4.2, but now you're just so sad. You're like, I'm keeping the draw on side. You're like,
these skinny odds. Yeah,
and you hang around with Mark O'Haire once he's in that bottom box. You're like, I'm starting listening to this guy.
Exactly. Well, you got to listen to the guru, haven't you?
You do.
Yeah. So I just think there's a lot of boxes ticked there for Sheffield Wednesday to go there and get a result. So that's pick number one. Pick number two is in League Two. Now it's Newport, who are very much promotion contenders at home to Grimsby, who are the worst team in the league, probably at the moment, really just a little bit worse than Southend, in real danger of going down. And you can back Newport at 1.9, which I feel is a very good price. The reason you can back them at that price is because they haven't won in 8 games, Newport. But I've I cover the EFL quite in a fair bit of depth. And they've been on the wrong side, some quite unlucky defeats through bad luck, but a lot of it red cards, narrow defeats. They're not as bad as their run suggests. They've had the heart of their team kind of ripped out as well, with loanees being recalled. But they've brought in some really good players on loan as well. I don't think they're going to be weak in the second part of the season. I think they can pick up again. And for me, this just screams this is the match that gets Newport's season going again, and that they'll certainly be looking at it this way. Michael Flynn's not happy at the moment. He will G up his team to smash Grimsby, and I think they've got a very good chance of doing it. And at the price, I can't ignore that. Newport to beat the Mariners.
Mark, jump in.
Funnily enough, I have Newport against Grimsby down to talk about as well, and I entered this game.
That's the opposite side.
No, with the very same perspective. However, I'm not sure if this is going to alter Adrian's thinking at all. It did for me. I'm sure there's a happy medium we can meet somewhere in between. But basically, Newport started the season with a different style of play, didn't they? They're playing much more attractive ball-playing football. However, this game's taking place at Rodney Parade, the first home game in quite some time. The pitch is in dreadful condition. It's like a bog. It always is around this time of the year. And to make matters worse, the Dragons, the rugby team who play in this town, are playing on Friday night on Rodney Parade's pitch. It's not going to be conducive to good football. I know Michael Flynn's already come out and said, we're going to have to change our style because of the pitch in the second half of the season. So I kind of approached it from a different perspective, really, and thought opposed goals. Grimsby, as Adrian says, have been terrible for quite some time. Just one win since Halloween. They're in a major battle for survival, upheaval on and off the field. They've only scored 2 goals in 6 since Boxing Day. They've been nilled in 7 of 13 away as well. And also, I was quite intrigued, really, but just looking at the performance data for League Two, Newport as well as Grimsby are in the bottom 7 for XG from open play generated. So I think it could be a tight game. Newport should really nick it. They're much better than Grimsby, but that pitch kind of puts me off a little bit. So potentially there's a 1-0, 2-0 correct score angle there to take with Newport. But quite interesting we're covering the same game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think we could go with both selections. They could both land. It's I think a small Newport, a low Newport win is the most likely scenario. I genuinely
did traditionally isn't under Flynn. He used to be the go-to.
And what I will say about the style, I think he has been on record as saying he wanted to change the style. He wanted to sort of have evolution and take the team to the next level. But what I've also seen this season is that they can still mix it. That when they need to, they can go long and boom it. They've still got players that are capable of playing in that system. They're still really good from long throws and from corners and free kicks. So it's just one of those cases. I think they'll just go back to the original plan A which makes it more of a leveler, definitely. And I get that, but I still think they'll win.
Yeah, look, let's just do both. Under 2.5 available at 1.82 currently. It's just funny on that pitch, Mark, because I was under the impression, look, I could be totally wrong, but that they were changing that surface to one of these kind of, 3G, 4G kind of, or maybe a hybrid surface. Because I remember just with the Dragons watching enough Pro 14 rugby that, like watch enough of those games down there, and they're absolute slogfest, especially this time of the year. And then there was this case where Cardiff were playing their home games there last year as well, and you're like, oh, great, the Newport off week, and another team playing there this week. That won't help the pitch at all. But yeah, it's just weird because I had it in my head that they were changing the surface.
They did invest in the pitch. They didn't invest. Not the they're not allowed. I don't think they're able to play on a 3G in football terms, but they did invest quite heavily in the pitch. But it's a bog again. Yeah,
they might just want to invest in a bit more. Mark, anything else, EFL? Have you got something European wise for us, Matt?
Europe. The quick, obvious one, really, the open goal for me, really, this week is Milan to beat Crotone with a -1.5 Asian handicap start. Pretty much full strength squad now for Milan. Kier's missing, but Tomori can come in at centre half. You've got Benacer and Çalhanoğlu back in the squad. Zlatan, Rebic, they're all about, really, and they reacted really well to their defeat against Atalanta by beating Bologna last weekend away from home. A good, impressive performance. 11 wins from 13 unbeaten games against teams outside the top 7. They scored twice in all 13 of those. Crotone away from home, winless, lost 8 of 10, conceded 2.3 goals on average away, and they've lost 10 of 11 winless games against the top 11. I could go on. There's heaps and heaps of stats and trends and justification to back it, but it's pretty much obvious, isn't it? Milan should win that game and should win it comfortably. It's trended downwards quite a lot already this week. 1.73 might be around still, but
1.73.
It's below 1.7. The other one's my best bet of the week. So whether you want it now or I can wait.
No, let's hold tough. We might just come back to Adrian in a second. But yeah, Milan, proper team. A lot of good young players there as well.
Mark came good on the Bayern handicap the other day, didn't he? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and I mean, look at the other side of that. If you fancy kind of ramping, look at the alternative handicaps. Even -2 there, I would suggest you could bet up to like 5 to 4, 2.25 as well. So not a lot in that. And again, if it just lands on 2, you get your money back as well. Adrian Clarke, best bet of the weekend, mate. Where are you going?
I like a lot of the ones we've talked about. Actually, I do. I feel. I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to bite us. But I feel quite bullish about some of the stuff we've discussed today. But yeah,
you're not. Don't tell me you're going to do an 11-time ACK again. Don't be doing those. No.
I'm going a bit bold here. I could pick 2 or 3 of the ones we've said, but I don't want to be boring. So I picked out another Premier League game: West Ham to beat Fulham. Fulham are an okay side. There's nothing disastrous about Fulham, but I feel there's a bit of a deflated vibe about them after that Leicester defeat. Another game where they've played okay but lost. Not won since the end of November. Fulham, home form, just 1 win against West Brom all season at Craven Cottage. And then you flip it around to West Ham. They're just buoyant, aren't they, at the moment, particularly away from home. They've beaten Villa, Palace, Everton, Leeds in recent times on the road. They've got real momentum. They even gave, Bowen a rest the other night for an hours as well. And, what do they do there? Because Lingard came in and was brilliant. Benrahma as well. So they've got options to freshen it up in the forward department. And that defence, it looks solid to me at the moment. As with the midfield too of Rice and Souček. So yeah, I just think West Ham are a stronger side than Fulham. They've got much more belief and momentum. And yeah, I really fancy them to go and win this game. 2.12 is the price on West Ham.
Actually, small, bigger on 2.14. Small bit of more value there. Mark, let me guess. I think you're going to France this weekend. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
How did I know that?
Yeah. There's loads of stories going around Europe this season, interesting stories. But I think Metz being in the top 6 in the Ligue 1 has got to be up there because they're typically a lower league. Not a lower league, a bottom half French top tier team. Often sort of bounce between the top 2 tiers as well. But their head coach Frederic Antonetti's done quite a remarkable job, really, under difficult circumstances. They've produced basically one of the best defences in the league. They're consistently picking up positive results, but they started the season with 3 defeats from 3. They had to sell their leading striker for financial fair play in the summer. Ibrahim Nian, who started the season with 6 goals, the top goal scorer this season, then was out for a long-term injury, and various other first-team starters have all been out injured too. So they've been through the ringer a bit, and even last year, about 12 months ago, 2 of their players were involved in a serious car accident too. One of which is I don't think he's able to walk for the rest of his life. So they've had it really, really tough. So to come out of that on the right side is quite astonishing, really. They've only lost 3 of the last 20 league games. They've only lost once in 17 against teams below them in the table. They've also won away at Lyon last month. Watched the game, really impressive performance. And their only away defeats this season have come against PSG, Lille, and Rennes, who are amongst the front runners in the league too. So Antonetti's found this system really built between 2 really strong centre halves. They also have the balance now to go and hurt teams. They used to be really, really boring and dull and sort of grind out 0-0s and 1-1s. They're now able to go and hurt teams too. So they're reaping what they sow. It's really quite exciting to watch them flourishing in the way they are. The performance data metrics aren't always the greatest, just down to their style and their system. You know, they like to invite teams onto them really. But this weekend they're taking on Saint Etienne away from home. We talked about Saint Etienne a while ago before the Lyon game, where they were affected by COVID issues quite significantly, got absolutely stuffed in that match too. Claude Puel remains under quite a lot of pressure really to get an underperforming squad playing. But they've, you know, if you look at the results, they might have looked like they've turned the corner with 4 points from the last 2 games against Nice and Nantes, but both Nice and Nantes are going through really difficult spells right now, basically 2 of the worst teams in the league. So I'm not reading a huge amount into that either. So, yeah, you look at Saint Etienne, they've won just twice at home all season. They've won 5 games in the Ligue 1 all season in 23. They've only won twice in 20 recently either, and they're averaging fewer than 1 goal per game. So if they're struggling to create, struggling to penetrate, and struggling to score, I can see Metz getting at least a point from the game this weekend. So, yeah, Metz plus half a goal at 1.8 in Ligue 1.
Yeah, I like it. And Mark also has another European selection, which I won't give away, on insights.matchbook.com. And Adrian Clarke has another 2 EFL selections there as well. So please do check those out, because we've only got 13 selections today. So you may just want another 2 or 3 for that 16-team ACCA, Adrian Clarke. Yeah. Just maybe do a couple of 7-timers, 8-timers this weekend, which of course you can do on matchbook.com as well. Gentlemen, thank you. Been an absolute blast as ever. No midweek football next week. I'm going to miss you guys on Monday. I'm going to use the kind of doing recordings with you on Monday evening, but we will be back probably at an earlier time next Thursday to preview the weekend Premier League fixtures. Adrian, Mark, pleasure as ever. Best of luck with your weekend bets, and we will chat to you next Thursday. Take care.